For some unearthly reason, there is a Bernie Sanders field organizer in LA County who is spreading false information about the California Democratic primary and what voters need to do to ensure that they can vote for their candidate. In the case of this particular person, Bernie Sanders, in LA in the upcoming primary election. Yeah, here we go again, huh? Let's talk about it. So before I get started, I want to make sure that people understand. I want to get that I'm reporting this. I am just re-reporting this to amplify this very important message. These findings come from Fiorella Mallorca and Pasta Jardula of the Convo Couch, who are also election integrity activists in the area of California, who have not been paying attention to the election for the Democratic primary in California a couple of weeks ago, not even a year ago, but about 2.5 to 3 years now. Pasta Jardula and Fiorella Mallorca of the Convo Couch, or as most of you all know her as Fiorella Isabel of the Convo Couch, have been preparing for this and educating people on the changes of the Democratic primary election in California, but very specifically LA County, from interviewing poll workers anonymously to interacting with various staff members on the Bernie Sanders campaign who have felt like they've been ill-equipped to educate the voters on how to best vote for Bernie Sanders to ensure their vote will count, and have also been researching things like where the ballot, literally trying to figure out and track where mail ballots are going, why they're giving provisional ballots, getting recordings of officials contradicting themselves about how to make sure you don't get a provisional ballot and how to ensure that you're going to be able to vote. All these things. This was done by Pasta and Fiorella. I'm just amplifying the message because it is an important one, and I don't want it to fall to the wayside so close to the California Democratic primary. Now, I will also say this: make sure you share this video wherever you can. If you're in California, share it. If you are not in California, share it anyway. I cannot stress the importance of a progressive victory in California. I cannot stress the importance of it. And it can't be a tie. If we tie, we lose. Okay? It has to be a decisive victory. And the only way that we can ensure that there's even a possibility of that happening is if we educate people on how to make sure that their ballots count. And if we basically call people out, they're spreading false information, which is what we're going to do here today. So like I said, make sure you share this. So there has been a lot of confusion about how to vote in California so that you don't get a provisional ballot, right? And Pasta and Fiorella, doing some fantastic work, discovered that the best way for you to vote is to vote by mail if you can. Not saying that it's a surefire way to have your vote counted, but as Fiorella said, and I kind of agree with her actually, at least you have a paper trail of who you voted for. You can track down your ballot if you need to. And if there was a lawsuit conducted by one of the campaigns, it will make it much easier if people like, those who have already voted by mail can just say, here's this is who I voted for, right? So it leaves a paper trail. But if you were not one of the ones who are able to vote by mail, and you are instead one of the ones that has to vote at a polling location, then there have been some very important changes that have taken place that for some reason, it seems like the Bernie Sanders campaign at the LA level, we're not talking about national, the field organizer at the LA level has not educated his staffers on what is literally in the manual for LA County for poll workers. So if you are, if you've switched addresses in 12 months and you don't have an ID to match your address, you have to bring bills. You have to bring something with your address, and then of course an ID with your face. That's the only way that you are going to get a ballot. If you don't have that, the bare minimum, and you've moved addresses in the last 12 months, you're done. They may not let you vote at all, let alone give you a provisional ballot. Now, there was an article spread around yesterday from The Hill saying that you can just switch your registration the day of. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, like Fiorella told you, like Pasta Jardulas told you, like the poll worker that they interviewed anonymously told you, if you switch your registration in California and very specifically LA County, the day of the election, you will be getting a provisional ballot. Even if your ID is all good. If you try and switch to the Democratic Party that day to vote for Bernie, to vote for Tulsi, I know there are a lot of independents and Republicans that are wanting to vote for both. You will not have your ballot counted. I'm gonna call it what it is. Provisional ballots are rarely, if ever, counted. They're provisional by definition. In other words, they choose whether or not to validate the ballot for that particular candidate. If you switch parties, I think you have today. Fiorella said that you only have today to do it. Like, it's 15 days out from the election, and that's so that this is the last day, I believe, according to Fiorella. Do not switch your registration the day of the election, because it will not be counted. If you have moved, bring your ID. Make sure the address matches. If you don't have an ID at all, you won't be able to vote. If the address does not match, it is likely that you will be given a provisional ballot. So this is pretty basic stuff, right? This is pretty basic stuff that any field organizer who is educating people on how to get out the vote, because getting out the vote is basically what you do at this point in the election season. This is what you would expect a field organizer to know. And if he or she received this information, you would expect them to be happy about it. Like, you would expect them to immediately verify, like, whoa, if this is true, then we need to pivot and educate voters. This must be the primary goal of our staff at this point. However, that's not what happened. Sources from inside the campaign reported to us that Lewis Myers, who is currently the field organizer for LA, said that this information was false, ladies and gentlemen. What? Okay, so you know how y'all know how the MCSC network is, right? What's our motto? You ain't never gonna catch us slipping at customer service, because we always keep the receipts. What did this say? Okay. Voters may register to vote in the primary up to and including 8 p.m. Pacific time on primary day. Okay, cool. Doesn't sound all that weird. You can even register online 11:59 p.m. February 17th, 2020. Oh, that's not good. You should have registered already. Last night was the last night. Vote by mail if postmarked on or before February 17th. At the county registrar through and including February 17th. Now it says between February 18th, 2020, 8 p.m. And primary day, March 3rd, you can do conditional voter registration. Conditional voter registration at county registrar of voter offices, Voter Choice Act county vote centers, or VCA centers, effective January 1st, 2020. That sounds like 2020, right? Okay. At any polling place in the voter's county of residence, after the registration is completed, the voter is given a provisional ballot. So basically, starting today, which means unfortunately the field organizer for LA is too late to actually educate his voters, and we have no idea how many voters are screwed right now. We have no idea. So now they're late. They're screwed. I don't know what else to call it. But if you got a provisional ballot, it's not being cast. I'm explaining to you how I know this in a second. But it says that you will be given a provisional ballot. So this information is clearly current. As you see, it says January 1st, 2020. This is from the manual. So if the MCSC network can acquire this information, then of course it shouldn't be all that difficult for the damn field organizer for do their due diligence before they try and pretend as if information that we clearly just verify right now. That's what they're saying. It's inaccurate, despite the receipts being right there. Now, the reason why you should always be skeptical of provisional ballots is because, like I said, by definition, the ballot that you are casting is provisional. As in under the provision that we choose to cast that motherfucker. I don't know how else to call it. They're saying that we cannot verify that you are a legitimate voter, and because we cannot verify that you are a legitimate voter, we gotta put your ballot off to the side. So at the very bare minimum, right? Let's just say everything went well and every provisional ballot went to the person that it's supposed to go to. At the bare minimum, your ballot will not be cast that day, or counted, I should say, that day. At the bare minimum. Because they have to then go through and verify that you are who you say you are, you live at the address that you say you live at, and then go on and cast your ballot. At that juncture, it will be too late. Because if it's Bernie Sanders, right? If there are 400 to 500,000 provisional ballots being cast in LA County, where obviously the most delegates will be up for grabs, most state delegates will be up for grabs, most precincts will be up for grabs. It's too late. The momentum is gone. They're going to start awarding delegates based off of who they want to win, and they may or may not, likely the latter. They may or may not award the delegates correctly after all the counts are done. And that, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is the most optimistic best case scenario. Jason V, how is this legal if you're homeless, you have no address? Jason, you are 100% correct. You are 100% correct. The only way that a homeless person in LA County can vote is if before they were homeless, they acquired an ID and they had already been registered at the address that their ID is on. Otherwise, you're correct. This completely disenfranchises the homeless community, which we know we're probably going to vote for one of maybe two candidates. Probably the only two that actually visited them, which is Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. So yes, the homeless community is they're being disenfranchised in the worst possible way. Their fate, really, unfortunately, because you got to remember, this isn't just the primary for the nation that they're voting in. They're voting on their California Democratic primaries. And so now the very people who have put them in the situation that they're in today, at least largely contributed to it, the very politician that put them in that situation, these homeless people will now lose the ability to hold those politicians accountable for their complacency, for them allowing the situation in California to get the way it is. So I want you to look at something. If you want to know if the provisional ballots are being used for nefarious purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are looking at is a chart of the provisional ballots cast in LA County. In 2014, you see about 100,000 votes total were cast. That's a lot, actually, to be completely honest with you. So in 2018, so this is 2014 general election. In 2018's quote unquote general election, which would be the midterms, there were 400,000 provisional ballots cast. 400,000. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, This is the same LA County that during that same 2018 election, everybody was reporting that their registrations got switched. Remember that. So when your registration gets switched, you have to then switch your registration back on the same day. And then there are people saying that the registration got switched. And in a lot of cases, people were saying they had been completely dropped from the voter rolls, which means, once again, you have to register that day. So if you have to register that day, what does that mean? Well, we just saw the manual. What does the manual say? If you register that day, then you get a provisional ballot. Now, do you think it's a weird coincidence that you get, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people mysteriously to disappear from the voter rolls and having the registration switch in the largest and probably the most progressive county in California, only to have them all fill out provisional ballots that we know won't be counted? Mind you, if I recall, Dianne Feinstein as a senator was declared the winner before anyone even woke up. Like, if you went to go use the bathroom when Dianne Feinstein's ballot started getting counted and you came back 30 seconds later, Dianne Feinstein was declared the winner. With what we see being reported as over 400,000 provisional ballots in LA County alone. 400,000. So wouldn't you think it would be pretty wise of us to assume that maybe, once again, best case scenario, maybe they're not giving the ballots to Dianne Feinstein, but when you have a record high registration, which is what took place in 2016 in LA County and California in general, and then you end up having a record low turnout, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to put two and two together. It's pretty reasonable. So what this field organizer is doing is dangerous. It is unacceptable. Literally, the worst case scenario is, hey, you know what? I haven't verified this yet, but let's just tell everybody, if at all possible, which if you're driving, you should have your ID anyway. But if at all possible, bring your ID. Bring one bill with you, if at all possible. If you can't, and like you literally cannot do it, you know what? Whatever, we're just gonna have to live with the results. But if you can do it, please bring your ID. Please bring a bill with you if your address doesn't match your ID. Hell, even if it does, you might need to bring a bill with you. Right? Why would you not just play it safe? Why would you not just play it safe? Why would you, bro, this wasn't even minutes after Pasta and Fiorella reported this information about the IDs when they were trying to correct people in the California Democratic Party Facebook groups and on Twitter. Not even minutes later. There was no way he could have verified it that quickly anyway. Not even minutes later, he was telling people, this is false information. We shouldn't report that. We shouldn't allow that. We shouldn't share false information. Well, you shouldn't tell people that information is false until you verify it. That's what I would think so. So, Bethlehem Tesfaye, thank you very much for the super chat. Changed my party to Dem on January 6, 2020. Then got my ballot with NPP on what? Wow. So Bethlehem is saying that she changed her party registration. And you know what that means? If you're newly registered in California, especially, and you're a new Democratic Party member, you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. That means that you're voting for an outsider candidate. That's basically what they assume. They're going to play it safe and assume that that's what's going to happen. And because that's what's going to happen, you get situations like what Bethlehem went on to say, which is she got a ballot in the mail that said no party preference in February. Bruh, And if you weren't a diligent voter, like Bethlehem absolutely is, you would have think, okay, well, I guess it's not that big of a deal, right? They said, you know, I can just do whatever I want to, right? I can just mail it in. Everything is fine. They wouldn't make that mistake, would they? It's ridiculous. 28 days later, thank you very much for the super chat. Have you seen Ron Paul's interview with Tulsi Gabbard yet? It was really good. It's titled "A Progressive Appeal to Libertarians" with Tulsi Gabbard. Believe it or not, I have not seen it yet. When he released that interview, I was with Tulsi in New Hampshire, so I didn't actually get a chance to watch it, but I keep hearing great things about it, and I definitely plan on watching it soon. But thanks for reminding me. You can still register or switch parties today. As for a permanent vote by mail status, it allows for a paper trail. I know you're saying that you can still register or switch parties today, but according to the documents that we have from the manual, it says between February 18th, which I assume is today, yeah, it's today, between February 18th, 2020 and 8 p.m. primary day on March the 3rd, you can do a conditional voter registration at county registrar of voter offices, the VCA centers, and effective January 1st, 2020 at any polling place in the voter's county of residence. Now it says after the registration is completed. So after the conditional voter registration is completed, you will be given a provisional ballot. So unfortunately, that is not, unless you learn something new that I didn't learn. But according to the voter manual giving to polling workers, this is what we're dealing with, unfortunately. So please, like I said, please, for the love of baby Jesus, share this video. Share it. I mean, literally the fate of our democracy could be hinged on the California Democratic primary. There are 415 pledged delegates at stake here. There are almost 1,000 total in the first Super Tuesday. Then you have Florida in the middle of the month that has 215 pledged delegates that Bernie is not looking like he's going to win. Bloomberg is in the league in multiple polls right now. And Bernie, hell, a couple of polls have Bernie third or fourth. So 215 delegates, he'll be lucky to get 30. Then you have you have New York. It's New York, come on. And the next Super Tuesday, if you will, with almost another 1,000 delegates on the line. Their goal is far different than Bernie's goal. Bernie has to win 1,991 delegates if he wants to win this primary election. 1,991 is 51% of the delegates. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not what Bloomberg's trying to get. That is not what Warren is trying to get. That's not what Buttigieg is trying to get. Well, Buttigieg might be trying to get 51% now because he has to deal with Bloomberg. But what Bloomberg is trying to get is enough to stop Bernie from getting 51%, which is it's a much easier task to do that when you have out and out rigging on your side. Because if Bernie is prevented from getting 51%, as he is the front runner at the moment, but if he's prevented from getting 51% of the delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it will go to a second round. It will go to a super delegate count, and that's it for us. KO. Down for the count. I mean, there are other options, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. But this is why it's important to share this video. Oh, Brian. Yeah, I'm going over his head. I mean, unfortunately, which is not a surprise, I guess, right? He made this statement the last day that you can register and not get a provisional ballot, right? No surprise there. But I'm going over his head. We've already begun to do so. So, because it's ridiculous. This is same type of incompetence we experienced in 2016. But at a certain point, when is incompetence? When does it become malicious? When should we consider it purposeful incompetence and just call it what it is? Because there's no way you could be looking out for the voters of LA County. There's no way you could be looking out for the Bernie Sanders campaign. There's no way you could be looking out for Bernie Sanders himself. There's no way you could care about the image of your staffers that are working for you in that county who will likely want to go on to work in politics in the future. There's no way you care about them by equipping them with false information and making them look clueless in a situation that could determine the outcome of Bernie Sanders' campaign. There's no way. So at what point do we consider incompetence malicious? Just saying. So please share this video. Share wherever you can. Shout out to Pasta and Fiorella. Once again, they did the hard work. I'm just relaying the message once again, and I'll relay it a couple more times before it's all said and done. All right. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.